So Disney's ownership over Star Wars has been very rocky. The reception of the sequels wasn't that great. They then cancelled Clone Wars to replace it with Rebels, just to then revive Clone Wars a few years later, cut most of the content that was originally planned for Season 7, and only used the stories that really suited their future plans with the franchise. The Mandalorian, though, was really successful, even if later seasons weren't particularly great. And of course, both Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi were a little bit of letdowns, really, comparatively to fan hype around them, specifically Kenobi. But then Andor came along, and Andor was pretty much excellent. So going into Ahsoka, it's hard to know what side of the coin you're going to get with this one. You don't really want to hype it up too much, otherwise you might end up with Kenobi. But then trailers that released were pretty great. And for me personally, I say we've got the good side of Disney Star Wars. So with spoilers throughout, we'll be going into it. I will say before watching this, I wouldn't say completely important, but both Clone Wars and Rebels are preferable to being watched before this. I would definitely recommend going through all of Clone Wars and then looking up a 10-minute compilation of the best Star Wars Rebels moments, because it is not worth going through the whole thing, I know. So to start with, the performances are all great. There is one character in particular I don't like, but the performance is fine. I'll get onto that a bit later. Overall, each actor, brilliant job. I really liked Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka. She was great in Mandalorian and a bit of Boba Fett. But finally here she gets her little moment to shine, a whole show around her. And she's absolutely great as a character. I also say that the Rebels characters, specifically Hera and Ezra, are good here. Particularly Ezra, who is absolutely awful in Rebels. He is much, much better here. There's so much more. This feels like an actual character instead of just an annoying little child. Of course, him being grown up and everything probably does help that. And having to not look at that awful Rebels animation. It is like these character designs for Rebels are terrible. But it's he is so much more tolerable here. Even a bit funny actually for once, which is a good start. I also enjoyed all the fights. The lightsaber fights here are really very well executed. We know how Dave Filoni does love his samurai style fights and everything. They're a little more slowly paced and a bit more precise. And they are really on full show here. They also look great as well. As a whole, the cinematography, it has been mainly one of the main consistencies with the Disney Star Wars stuff, is that it all looks the part. And I think with Ahsoka, it probably might be the best looking out of the lot. There are some absolutely beautiful looking stuff here. The one that comes to mind for me personally is episode 5, which is probably the best episode of the entire show. But it has some absolutely brilliant shots in the little Clone Wars sections. One really stands out, and it's just Anakin walking distance, merging into Vader. It is absolutely fantastic looking. And having Hayden Christensen back as Anakin / Vader is great. I will always bash his performance in the prequels because it is awful. And it's good to have him back with writers and directors that actually can write and direct very well. So his performance is just so much better. Even just having between 10-20 minutes of screen time, this is just 10 times better than anything he did in the prequels. Even in Kenobi as well. All of it's just much better. It's just a nice little scenes he has as well in this show. His little ending with the Force Ghost is a really nice little moment. It's a really nice way to end the show. And just in episode 5 as a whole, just his lesson to Ahsoka. And again, the fight scenes, Hayden Christensen's always been great at the action aspects of Star Wars, the lightsaber fights. He really does have so much fun with it, and you can tell. But with episode 5, it's the thing that Disney Star Wars has struggled with a lot recently is the fan service and how to use it. Mandalorian really bottled it up a bit and just kind of forced it down your throat, similarly with Book of Boba Fett. But here, this is where it's done right. It serves a purpose in the plot, and it's not. It's pretty much just one full episode of it in terms of the Clone Wars stuff, And just the Clone Wars, having it in live action in general, it's just brilliant. I mean, I'm pretty certain it's what pretty much every fan, including me, wanted for a long time, and it is they have the perfect excuse to use it, and the perfect reason to use it, and they do use it well, really well actually. In fact, I absolutely loved it. Like, just the whole production as well around this show is fantastic. I mean, it's something again that has been pretty consistent with Disney Star Wars. You know, here we've got, you know, the background shots of little details in backgrounds, costumes, specifically like the stormtroopers and night troopers from the squad. They are so good looking. Even though they got like his captain, the Death Troopers in the final episode look really great. Just the troopers in general. This also sticks down to like the clone troopers in, you know, flashback, both Phase 1 and Phase 2 armour. Captain Rex, of course, all great looking. You know, the whole just set design of everything just looks great, especially when they travel to the next galaxy to see Thrawn, and you have the Night Sisters around, all these temples, statues everywhere. It just looks so good. And I think it's definitely complemented by a fantastic score by Kevin Kinner, who was the guy who also scored Rebels and Clone Wars. A very good, like, composer's getting. He's obviously knows the franchise very well, and he is scoring characters that he's previously scored before. Definitely adds to the whole atmosphere and just the feel of the show. It is brilliant. And then I think the villains as well, for the most, are very good. Of course, there's like the Inquisitor that is completely useless and worthless at this point in there when you finally get past episode 5. Maybe I think he dies in episode 4 actually. Fuck knows, I can't remember. But you know, he can. All those stupid fan theories around him, none of them are going to be true. You know, that's just good where they just kind of got rid of him quickly. As the main focus in terms of villains, for the most part, is of course Balin and Shin. I will say that I definitely like them. They definitely have the presence on screen when they do appear. But I think there could have been use of more focus on certain aspects like backstory and motivations. Their motivations are kind of very vague. There's sort of like really vague type dialogue that they have kind of explaining why and what they're doing. I think a lot more focus on them in terms of what they wanted and why they're there would have definitely helped. And the ending as a whole kind of opens a bit more up to these characters. They are pretty much vacant from the entire finale, apart from right at the end where they have about 10 seconds of screen time each. Of course, with the past of Ray Stevenson, Balin's characters, you know, probably won't see him again, maybe in different actor or something, I don't know. And then with Shin's character, all I see with her at this point is a redemption arc. And, you know, as Star Wars goes, redemption arcs are extremely cliche and are pretty much everywhere now, so I hope that's not the case. And then, of course, Thrawn and the Night Sisters, including the Night Sister from featured in Mandalorian, which she was Ahsoka's episodes. They're all great. I mean, Thrawn as a villain has always been pretty cool. I think he's really underutilised in Rebels because Rebels is kiddie crap, so he doesn't really have much of an edge or to do what he wants. And then with him winning at the end of the show, essentially just getting his victory, dipping the scenes, you know, definitely opens up this era of the franchise up a lot more. And I'm very curious to see where they go with his character. As I know Thrawn in Legends and in all the books and stuff is like the best of the best in terms of admirals. Like, he is excellent at what he does. So, I mean, we'll have to see what they do with Thrawn. But overall, I'm very happy with his inclusion, and the villains as a whole, I mean, are great. They're very good. But, you know, there are issues. So, for me personally, again, it's the pacing. These Disney Plus shows, whether it's Marvel, Star Wars, they just don't know how to pace them properly. Like, the first 3 episodes are a little bit vacant of anything that interesting, and they'll, again, pace really poorly. And they also do have stupid moments, like Sabine, for example, again, getting stabbed by a lightsaber, and by the next episode being pretty much completely fine. You know, Disney has a weird thing of making lightsabers less, like they've been underpowering a lot of them. It's an easy excuse, like games it's fine, but like in shows, I mean, there's been so many characters that have just taken killing blows and they're just carrying on going like it's nothing really. And this show does have the problem with Sabine, who is the one character that I just dislike so much. With Ezra, was worse in Rebels, I'd say, but they improved in here. But they didn't Sabine. I have no problem with the performance at all, but her character is just so annoying. Like, she must be she's like in her 30s now. This show takes place, and she's still just this annoying child who makes terrible decisions. And really, when you look at the show, Thrawn returning is entirely her fault. Like, she's just, I want to see Ezra again, I have to. And then you pretty much like doom fuck knows how many people because Thrawn is now back. Well, you go in there with no plan, you think Ahsoka's dead, and oh fuck it, just sacrifice everyone for Ezra. It's so stupid. And throughout Rebels, she was just so annoying. And it definitely helps with this show that you're not looking at, pretty crappy looking animation in terms of its style. And that's really the improvement that all these Rebel characters have. And for Sabine, it's the only improvement she has. They should have just killed her when she just got stabbed at the first episode she got stabbed. They should have just killed her. But overall, once you get past that slow start, Ahsoka is probably one of the best and most satisfying bits of Star Wars content you can consume. Especially being such a big fan of the franchise and Clone Wars in general. You're watching Ahsoka from when she got 2008 with the first Clone Wars film. She got introduced, and how much her character has changed throughout the years, how much better she's gotten with each subsequent season of Clone Wars, and now with Ahsoka. It's just satisfying and an absolutely great watch for me. So with that, this gets a 4 out of 5. And before I go, watching Ahsoka has really made me realise that what I would like to do in the near future is essentially do a complete review of the entire Star Wars saga, starting with the prequels, which I've been going through a little bit. I've got pretty much most of it planned out what I'm going to do with the prequels, and then after that we'll go from there. But that is what I will like to do in the near future, along with normal reviews like these. But the Star Wars saga will have, from like all of it, films and TV. Look out for that, and have a good one.